Well, this is not pleasant. Really not pleasant for the Colorado Avalanche when thinking about players they need to sign. Now, we have already spoken about the biggest trade saga of 2024-2025. The Mikko Rantanen trade saga between Colorado, Carolina, and inevitably, Dallas. There was a lot to pay attention to in regards to Mikko Rantanen, his situation with the Avalanche, how he wanted a certain amount of money, how the Avs were not willing to give it to him, and then they surprised the entire hockey world by trading Rantanen over to Carolina. Everybody in Colorado was shocked at the trade. Rantanen himself shocked at the trade. And then he failed to actually show up and play well with the Hurricanes, so he got moved again to Dallas and then signed an 8-year, $12 million AAV extension. Lots to like out of the drama that had unfolded with that situation, but now we're thinking about it like, okay, Mikko Rantanen, he's gotten that contract, he got the bag, and I know a lot of Avalanche fans were thinking about it like, wait a minute, $12 million? Like, that's not that bad. Why couldn't we have done that? And so now, we're months away from the conclusion of that saga, except no, we're not. We're not. It's not concluded because the Colorado Avalanche, in return for Mikko Rantanen, they received Martin Necas as the big trade piece coming back the other way. Now, we've made a bunch of videos about Necas over the past few months here, starting from last year when it was really popping off to open up the 24-25 campaign. He finished off his Carolina Hurricanes stint that year with 55 points in 49 games, then was a point per game almost with the Colorado Avalanche to end things off. But make no mistake about it, Martin Necas at one point in 24-25 was the top point scorer in the league, it seemed like. He was just popping off with multi-point games like crazy to open things up in the season, and he was a very underrated fantasy pickup for a lot of us owners who decided to pick him up in the middle to late rounds. He was so productive to start out the year, and it did fizzle away a little bit, but he still ended off the year being under a point per game for Colorado. Very good player. Very strong hockey presence, good vision, he sees the ice well, but his contract expires at the end of this upcoming season, and he's currently making $6.5 million a year. The problem with the Martin Necas situation is, right now, the Colorado Avalanche might not actually be in a good spot to pay him either. You see, we've already made a few videos talking about Necas and the idea that Colorado just doesn't really think he's worth what it is he could be asking for. And now we're diving into whether or not the Avalanche may have regretted making this trade happen in the first place. There's a video on Bleacher Report Open Ice's Twitter account. It's an excerpt of Frank Saravalli's latest segment on the show, how the Avalanche are experiencing deja vu with the Martin Necas contract situation. Now, I transcribed this using the AI machine, and I wanted to showcase to y'all what it was that was talked about by Frank on this program. This is what he said in the video clip. I'm fascinated by what happens with Martin Necas and the Colorado Avalanche, because they are right back in the same situation now that they were this time last year with Mikko Rantanen. They didn't want to pay him what it was due. They ended up moving him well before the trade deadline back in January, biggest trade in NHL history the last 2 decades. Now, they acquire Martin Necas in that deal, north of a point-per-game player, and he wants to be paid. What does that number look like? How close is it to what the Rantanen deal looked like? And by the way, I'm sure they're hearing the Kaprizov news of turning down an 8x16 and thinking, man, we really should have done that Mikko Rantanen deal if they weren't feeling it last spring in the playoffs. But they really should have done that deal with what was on the table. I think you could have gotten Rantanen done at just a shade south of 8x12. Do that deal as opposed to now potentially playing Martin Necas if he has another north of point per game campaign. This is just numbers. He's going to be in that $10 million a year range, which, man, you're just right back at square one. So not an easy situation to be in if you're Chris MacFarlane and the Colorado Avalanche. And so I'll ask this question out to the Avalanche fans watching this video. Do y'all regret making the Mikko Rantanen trade? And is a lot of that regret, if so, stemmed up by what's happening now? Martin Necas wants 8 figures, Kirill Kaprizov rejected $16 million AAV. If you could have gotten Rantanen done for the same deal that he got in Dallas, 8 by 12, or maybe even a shade below that, 8 by 11.75, 8 by 11.8, do you rather take that than sign Martin Necas to 10.5 or whatever? You pay a little bit extra to get Mikko Rantanen, that premium item, that player who's been a part of your organization since 2015, who worked really well with Nathan MacKinnon, who was one of the best forwards and wingers the league has to offer nowadays. Not to shade Mikko Rantanen's trade return and Martin Necas. Necas is a good hockey player, but he's no Mikko Rantanen. There's a reason why the trade which saw Rantanen get sent over to Carolina was the way it was. It was Rantanen for Necas and a bunch of other stuff. Jack Drury, come on down. Draft picks, come on down. It wasn't Rantanen for Necas straight up. And that, I think, paints a picture as to where the values lie here. Because ultimately now, if you're going to be paying the new guy just a shade under what Mikko Rantanen got, you kind of have to think about it like, man, did we really, need to do that trade in its entirety? Could have just paid Rantanen whatever it is that he wanted. He wanted to stay in Colorado. He didn't think that he'd get traded. And then there were some comments made by agents and stuff speaking out. There were some miscommunication issues and whatever. We've gone over all that in prior videos, but for Avalanche fans, I want y'all to answer this question here. Are you regretting the Mikko Rantanen trade? Do the Avalanche really regret this? Are they looking at Kirill Kaprizov's situation? They're looking at Necas' situation and saying, darn it, we're just stuck in square one. We're back to where we were a year ago. And we've got a disappointed Nathan MacKinnon after having a bad playoff run in 2025. We lost in the first round, and now everybody's ticked off. What a terrible timeline we live in. Now, of course, I'm not going to go out there and say the Avalanche have not been blessed with stellar play out of the best defenseman in the world and one of the best centers in the world, and actually having some very, very strong production out of those guys, and Mikko Rantanen and Necas. They've been blessed the past few years, but this is not the direction you want to go down if you're a team that really wants to keep on competing. You can't be going through the exact same cycle year in and year out, just with different names attached to the contracts. And for Martin Necas' sake, if this guy inevitably does end up re-signing with Colorado, what's the dollar amount there? He wants a lot. So if you don't sign him, you just trade him, you get the exact same thing happening all over again next year. This is clockwork, folks, and I want y'all to let me know in the comments how you feel about it. I'll leave a link in the description to the Frank Seravalli Twitter video that we had looked at here as well. A lot of folks in the replies are going out there and saying, yeah, they should have just paid Mikko. A lot of folks are going out there and talking smack about Seravalli, which I can understand. Seravalli has had a very few specific kind of moments over the past few years here reporting on hockey and delivering stories, but ultimately, I think there is just a very fair idea to be brought up here, whether or not this is actually the right way to be going about it. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about the Mikko Rantanen Martin Necas situation with the Colorado Avalanche. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.